All right, it's now time for the Week 7 fantasy show. Halfway through the regular season, we are about to be. Time flies. It does not seem like it has been this long, but we are getting in to the middle of the season where the wins and losses become pretty important. Especially for everyone trying to make the playoffs. Real quickly, we'll look at what happened last week in Week 6. Pretty big week. Some big scores from quite a few teams. Almost everyone scoring at over 100 points, almost. Some people had some rough losses with some decent scores. Looking at my matchup with Zombie, this was a bit of a surprise as I did not think going into last week that I would be blowing Zombie out, but his team just completely did not show up, so I will take that. So beat him 123 to 84 to move to 4-2. Zombie now falls to 4-2, so both of us now same record at 4-2. As I said, his whole team kind of did not show up. Dak Prescott had a horrible game against the Lions. Really, his only two standouts were Brees Hall and Drake London. Other than that, his whole bottom of his lineup were all in single digits and low single digits, all less than 5. So rough for Zombie. On my side, had a good Thursday night performance from Purdy and Debo, both getting over 20 to start me off way ahead. So that was a good start. And then from there, everybody else just contributed into 11s, and 24 from Garrett Wilson was big to keep me in a big lead. The only downside was started the wrong flex wide receiver again as my fourth flex, getting a 0. That's like 3 of the last 4 weeks I've had a 0 from one of those spots. So we're hoping for this upcoming week to not get a 0. But GG's to Zombie. Unlucky that his team did not show up. I'm sure if Zombie was here, he would talk about how he had injuries and buys. But if you look at his lineup, he really only had Neighbors, who was out with a concussion, and Aaron Jones on bye. Other than that, the rest of his lineup is pretty much is what it is. Anybody want to make any comments on this matchup? No?
His team's ass.
Whose team is ass?
Zombie team's ass.
Tommy had a lot of injuries. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He had a lot of injuries.
He has a lot of injuries.
Well,
Are
he
you
had 3 players out.
he had Are you okay, you're counting Cooper Kupp and Neighbors? Jones
And
was on bye.
Jones.
He wasn't playing even if he was
Oh,
healthy.
okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's not what you want from your flex players,
I mean,
but
I'm looking more at the fact that Dak Prescott is not looking very
yeah,
good.
Dak is
His
usually an
second
elite
running
stat pattern.
back
So
is ass if Aaron Jones isn't playing. Brian Thomas is on Jacksonville, so
when he gets targets,
okay. I think Zombie's
Dak.
lineup is
I'm worried
far
about
from
Dak.
perfect.
I'm worried about Dak because
Yeah,
Dak is
well,
usually an elite stat pattern, even if they lose. And if you can't do that, that's
I'm sure he's going to look to Drake May, who he picked up last week as the
Drake
future.
May
We'll
had an
see. He had
MRI
a
today,
good first game, but
and then he had an
see if
MRI
that
today.
continues. Okay, we'll see. All right, moving on to the next matchup. This was one of the lower scoring ones of the week, but another bit of a surprise as Ernie now 3 straight losses. So Ernie started 3-0 on the season and has now lost his last 3 weeks to fall to 3-3. Rat picks up a big win, 104 to 91, goes to 4-2. We kind of went back and forth on who was winning this matchup last week, and Rat pulled it out. He would have lost against a lot of other people, but he was playing the right person this week in Ernie. Rat had Jordan Mason get hurt in the game, so he didn't play the second half. But it does sounds like it's not going to be too severe. Last week on Thursday night, we were all giving the oh no's to Rat on Mason as he did not look good on the sidelines. But he had some nice games from his receivers. T. Higgins had 14. Devontae Smith had 14. Brock Bowers continues to look like a top tight end this season with 16. And Tyler Lockett, who he decided to switch instead of the Tucker Kraft. Last week he talked all high up on Tucker Kraft and going to go 2 tight ends. Well, he changed it and put in Tyler Lockett, and it ended up paying off as first half it looked horrible. Second half he got a touchdown and some catches. Obviously Olave though hurt him as getting concussed right away and getting in the negative. And I'm sure he's going to be changing kickers after what he saw from Tyler Bass. So those were the downsides to Rat's team. On Ernie's side, it just continues to look a little bit shaky for Ernie. He does have those trio of good running backs, but his wide receivers continued to be the question mark for Ernie's team. And he started Kirk Cousins, who didn't do that great considering it was against Carolina. They got up big and they ran the ball with Bijan. Kamara had a nice game. Barkley, his first kind of rough game, only 7.4 points. So that was rough. Tank Dell, though, look, it was a bright spot as he had a huge game with Nico out. So you think that could continue going forward for Ernie. Ridley, another shit game. That's back-to-back weeks now that Ridley has severely let Ernie down. Cost him a win 2 weeks ago and then cost him a chance at a win this week. Pitts had an okay game, but other than that, a goose egg from Alec Pierce as well as he was 0 for 4 on targets. Colts wide receivers are just a giant toss-up. So rough for Ernie. Now 3 straight losses. He did say on Monday that he may be making a nuke soon. So that kind of tells me that he is a little bit concerned about how his season is going after starting 3-0 and looking great. Anybody want to make any comments on this matchup, Rat? You got a big win over your friend Ernie after you backtracked and FFF'd on the AIDS. You claimed last week on the show you were going to make maximum AIDS to Ernie, and you didn't do a single thing, and you just backtracked and got scared of Ernie.
He got gun shy when he saw what he did to Slaps.
Mm-hmm. We kept it friendly.
You pussy.
Definitely got more bail this week, I will say. One of the weeks that I finally got lucky to face a lower scoring team.
Mm-hmm.
But if Zombie can make excuses, I can, because Brian Robinson got hurt. Mason got hurt early game. Olave, first play of the game, got concussed. So I think the score of mine also doesn't really show what my team can actually do.
Okay. Any comments on, it seems like you made the right move in starting Jordan Love over CJ Stroud. That was the correct decision this week as he had 25 and Stroud had 18. But, any comments that your 4th round pick you're now benching, it seems like, for a different quarterback in Jordan Love?
Nico Collins will be back soon and Stroud will be on the team. Anyway, once Nico Collins is back.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to make any comments about this matchup?
Yeah. Ernie wasn't thanking me for Saquon this week. What happened?
Oh. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. First bad game. I can't wait for when he plays the Giants.
I think Rat team is fine, but Olave is looking like a bust.
What was that trade again? Olave for what?
It was Olave and Rashawn Johnson for Pickens, Ford, and Downs. I mean, it's not like he lost much.
Pickens for yeah.
Downs is popping off.
But he's not on Potter's team anymore.
I think he'll be fine when Nico comes back.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely need
some. It's a solid team. It's definitely a solid team. I just think the biggest question is if hypothetically CMC ever comes back, obviously they're going to split
his running back. When I look at Rat's team, if everything's healthy, his wide receivers are good. He's got 3 really good ones. The second flex is kind of a question mark, and his running backs are kind of turning into a question mark.
I just think the issue is if CMC comes back, they're definitely not going to spam him every play because they don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah, that's a big
question. They're definitely he's going to get points for sure, but it's not going to be like he's going to get 25 every game like he was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next matchup. We saw Pook putting up another big-time score, 139 over Matt, 123. Unlucky for Matt. His team actually performed pretty well this week, but it was not enough, as he now falls to 1-5 in that dreaded tie for last place at 1-5. Not a very good week for the teams that were 1-4 last week, as they all lost, and to make it worse, all the 3-3 teams all the 2-3 teams won to go to 3-3, so they're kind of in the already like a game behind. So actually 2 games behind now, so a little bit rough for them, for Matt especially, because he put up enough points to win against other people, but fell. Had a good game from Fields, although now he's getting benched apparently, even though he's done nothing but win and put up some decent numbers in the process. But apparently Mike Tomlin owes Russell Wilson something, so I guess he's going to be rumors are Russell Wilson will be starting this week, so Matt's going to have to pivot at quarterback to, I guess, Anthony Richardson, who's on his team at the moment, or maybe he picks up another quarterback. We'll see what Matt does in that situation, but he had a good week last week from Fields. Henry continues to ball out ever since Matt has traded for him. He has been a beast. The only thing was this time Bijan Robinson matched him this week, so it kind of was an even trade between Pook and Matt for this week as they both put up 25. Swift continues to look very good on the Bears offense, running the ball. He's come alive, 21 huge points. Diggs had another nice game with no Nico. Keenan Coleman continues to be inconsistent and doesn't get a ton of targets in the games that he's playing. Andrews had a nice sighting though, 15.6. That's something Matt can hope for in the future. Etienne has been a disaster this season, one of the busts of the season so far for sure. DJ Moore had a touchdown called back as he was just short, or else he could have been in double digits. I don't think he needs to concern too much on him. He had some bright spot on the bench with Ray Davis. Pittman did play and got 12.5. So at least Matt has that off the bench that he can stick in. But we'll see with Richardson if he plays at all, how that fares out, or if they continue to go with Flacco. Matt has definitely quarterback questions moving forward on his team. On Pook's side, he started Caleb Williams, who continues to improve each week and look better. 28 huge points in fantasy this week for him overseas. So big game for Pook there as he started the right quarterback over Goff. They both had huge days, but it's always nice still to know you started the right one. We already talked about Bijan. Jacobs did okay. Sutton had a nice game. Scary Terry continues to look very good with 23 points. With Daniels, that connection's forming pretty good with 2 touchdowns. Ferguson was kind of the one downside, and Pook started Bigsby over Keenan Allen, which was kind of a big yikes as Keenan had a huge game with 2 touchdowns. But it did not hurt Pook, the missed start there of Bigsby over Allen. It didn't hurt him as he still pulled out a win and now moves to 4-2. Anybody want to make any comments over this matchup?
Pook seems looking strong.
Yes.
Pook seems been looking good.
Yep. Started off slow this season, first couple weeks, but the last few weeks it has been very, very good. He's got players on the rise as well.
I just think that, Caleb Williams is not putting up 28 every week, but he's been looking a lot better. Looking very solid. Pook already benched him, but he's looking good.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that, I feel like
first time ever I've seen a kicker that's injured on somebody's bench or IR, but then he eventually dropped it.
I think Chuba could take a hit with Brooks coming back, but otherwise pretty solid.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there for sure. Some competition. The way Chuba's been running, though, you figure he'd still be the guy.
I'm not saying significant hit.
Yeah.
Slightly less.
Yeah. Could be. We'll see what happens. All right. Moving on to the next matchup, we have finally the undefeated team is no longer as Cheese falls to Pusa. Pusa sends him his first loss of the year in kind of a big margin, 148-112, a no doubter for Pusa. Big win for him as he moves to 3-3. Cheese falls to 5-1, still in first place though. Pusa had a nice game from Hurts. Nice games from his running backs with 18 and 17.
Nice
yeah, Zay Flowers 20, Brown 20. Yeah, he got a 0 from Goddard. That was the only downside. Almost everybody else was in everybody else was in double digits. On Cheese's side, he started Daniels, so he did start the right quarterback this week. Congrats.
And the right kicker, baby.
Had a nice, and the right kicker, I guess. Both his Detroit running backs had double digits, so not horrible. I mean, Monty 21 and Gibbs 12. I mean, that still averages out to 15 each. If the
Cowboys weren't ass, we could have got more points. They were just trying to get linebackers.
Well, you're just greedy because that's a good game when you're starting 2 running backs from one team
saying.
To get double digits. Mike Evans was the one downside this week who Cheese has shipped off. We'll talk about that when we look at the trade. DK Metcalf had a single-digit game. Those were kind of the story. This kind of let down Cheese. His wide receivers didn't produce, and then he started Zach Moss, who it's the Chase Brown show, as he lost a fumble in that game and is looking like the number 2 running back now. He shipped him away as well. Mooney came way back down to earth after his huge game. The bottom half of Cheese's lineup, besides Kittle, really let him down in this matchup, or else it could have been a lot closer. Geez, your comments after suffering your first loss of the season. It's been a while since you lost, dating back to last year. So how does it feel, buddy?
It's going to happen. We're not going undefeated. No one's going undefeated. We still put up a solid number, 112.
Okay.
We haven't put up below 100 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too mad. DK had like 2 touchdowns that he couldn't get. He's still getting the opportunities. I'm not worried about him.
Okay.
The running backs are still solid. I finally have a QB every week. Just gotta figure out the flex situation. But Shane's back, and he was gonna be back soon. So.
All right. Well, it still sounds optimistic. Yes, go ahead.
I'm not worried. We put up one. It's not like we lost and I put up 80 or something. We put up 112. That's a solid number. That would beat a lot of teams this week.
Okay.
I'm not worried.
All right, Rat.
Look, these past year and a half, I think Pusa has lost a lot of credit in fantasy, but this year I think he has a really strong team too.
Okay, yeah. Pusa's getting a lot of love.
I like his wide receivers a lot. His AJ Brown and Jamar Chase is pretty scary.
Yeah.
And then you got Hurts at quarterback and Pollard, who's a solid. So Pusa's team's up there. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Wow. Some credit for Pusa. Okay.
This is my first loss since week 12 of last year.
Okay. Thank you for that stat. Yeah. Wow, to Rat.
Well, that was the week that I put up 130, but he put up 145. So.
Okay. Yeah, Pusa definitely has a strong team. I think it could even get stronger if Tua comes back. That could help Waddle, who he's been benching. He has Kmet, who is looking like a very serviceable tight end in case Goddard is out or not playing as well. So, yeah, he has a very solid team. It could be a title contender. It's too early to say for sure. There's some injuries can still happen. But it's definitely going to be a battle for all the people that have bet with Pusa. I'm glad I still have a lead over Pusa to work with because his team is definitely on the rise. So we'll see though moving forward, what shapes out with his team, and he has been looking in trade negotiations. I don't understand why because he's got a pretty solid team, but we'll see if he does work out anything.
His team's very solid. I'm just worried about the running backs going forward.
Yeah,
but
compared to everybody, everybody's team pretty much has some running back question marks. Unless you just got the 2 Lions boys that just every week put up double digits. Other than that, everyone else is going to have some questions.
I think it's a very solid team. I'm pissed that Slaps gave him AJ Brown.
Yeah, that trade is definitely not looking as good. It looked okay for Slaps the first week of it, and ever since then it has looked worse.
Just kept him.
Speaking of Slaps, moving on to the next matchup, we had Zach taking down Slaps to send Slaps to 1-5 in that tie for last. A little bit closer, 110 to 103, as he had a chance to win this week, and he made another GM error that cost him another win, as if he would have played, Lazard. If he played Lazard, who had 23 points, instead he chose to play Downs and Christian Kirk over them, and it cost him a victory this week, as he would have won if he started him. But he falls. Continued decent game from Burrow. He started Gibson again. Stevenson didn't play. Okay, so he started Gibson, who didn't do much. Najee Harris, though, had a nice game, 20 points. That's the first big game for Najee. We'll see, though, moving forward. I think he's popped up on the injury report. We'll see how bad it is. Ayuk had his one nice game and just came right back down to shitty earth. He's looking like a bust this season as well. Christian Kirk, we already talked about him, just not very good. Laporta did finally get in the end zone for 12. Big hurt for Slaps is Marvin Harrison has a concussion and put up a 0 and also cost Slaps this week. If Harrison stays healthy and gets some points, he might have won this week. So moving forward, we'll see how long he's out, if it's a neighbors type concussion or if he can come back sooner. Slaps is going to need him. Downs, though, as you said, did put up a nice game. So at least that trade where you got Downs is looking okay. On Zach's side,
Richardson comes back. And then
we'll see what happens. The Colts, in my opinion, are a mess, and you never really know on that team, if they're going to have a good week, a bad week, who's going to get the points. It just seems like a mess to me. Lamar Jackson had an okay game. Trey Sermon, as we talked about, Colts. Taylor was out again, and instead of Sermon putting up big numbers like he did last week in Taylor's absence, this week he did shit. Eckler with 10, okay. Jameson Williams had a nice game. When he gets that ball on a route deep, he's gone. Nobody's catching him. Jaden Reed, another solid game. It didn't matter coming to Monday night when he had to play Conklin. He was already winning, so luckily that didn't matter because Conklin did nothing. And moving forward, he probably won't do too much with the choir of Adams. Wandell, he had 11 targets, so the PPR machine continued to get the targets, but he only caught 5 of them for 10 points. And J.K. Allday, though, continues to be a guy this season that I was scared to draft as he's always injured, but so far he stayed healthy this year, and he has put up some big games for Zach. The Reed and Dobbins draft moves this year by Zach are turning out to paying off as they both had really good seasons. Zach, big win for him to move to 3-3, as I said. Unlucky to slaps, but now he's in that battle at 1-5, and he has a big matchup coming up in week 7, which we'll talk about in a minute. Anybody want to make any comments on this matchup or either of these teams?
Yeah, I apologize to Zach for the Jalen Reed pick. That's a very good pick. He's been excellent.
Yes,
but I do want to talk about Blasphemy sent me some of the worst trade offers I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, as I've mentioned many times on this show over the weeks, Slaps does trading all wrong. The way he I'm convinced he doesn't even look at what your team needs, or I'm convinced he just tries to trade you his shit players for your best players and hope that you're dumb enough to accept it. And nobody in this league is dumb enough to do that. So he needs to start looking at your team and what you need and see if it will fit for what he's trying to give up and take a little bit of risk, because nobody's going to give you their players that are popping off for your shit players that are doing nothing. But I've already said this many times.
Hey, I gave him bounce for Gunza.
Yeah.
I mean,
but at the time, neither of them had really been doing much. So that was one where he actually traded okay and got a guy that maybe is going to continue to.
I'm just my team is clearly better than his team, and he's valuing his players is better than my players. That's
ain't
gonna work. Make a trade here.
Ain't gonna work, but I guess he can keep sending those offers every day and hope someone is dumb enough.
He wanted to give me Najee for A-Chain. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, well, he's trying to cash in on Najee's big game, but yeah.
But I've already held A-Chain for this long. I'm gonna wait till 2 is back at this point.
Yeah, especially at 5-1.
5-1, I can afford to.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see going forward what Slaps does. I would say there's probably a nuke around the corner, but I'm trying to figure out what he's going to be trading to do that nuke, because right now his biggest asset, Harrison, is hurt, so you can't really nuke that at the moment. But we'll see. Maybe
he said he wouldn't trade me Harrison for DK straight up.
Yeah, he values him high. Like I said, he can't trade him right now because the value he wants from him with him being hurt.
Harrison put up 30 last week.
He was in negotiations for Adams, but it wasn't going to go nowhere. But as I said, we'll see. The other fact, Slaps can complain he has had a lot of injuries and he has had some bad fortune, but there's also another part of you don't start the right guys and it comes back to bite you in the butt. So Lazard, who's had a pretty nice season, yes, he wins easily over Zach if he starts Lazard.
He's had multiple weeks where he wins. He puts the right guys.
Yeah, there was another week I can think of. So part of it is also your fantasy management of starting the right guys, and if you don't start the right guys, sometimes you lose these close matchups, and that's what's happened to Slaps as well. And then you add the injuries in and the unluckiness, and it all equals a 1-5 record on the season. But we'll see if he can still bounce back. It's not totally done, but he's gonna need to start winning some games. Okay, what? Let me guess, right? It's done for him. Is that what you're gonna say?
It's vacation time. Get the beer. Go
has
to the beach.
Has he faced the softer teams yet?
See you next.
What?
I
don't think he's faced Matt yet, and he faces Tyler this upcoming week.
There's some win potential. He could get back in the race.
Yeah, we'll see.
You just need to go on a run.
Talk about that match.
Ernie lost 3 in a row after starting strong.
Yep.
Ernie's team is not fucking flat.
Slaps wins the next 2 weeks. He's right back in it.
If Flax just had Kyron
Yeah, but
Command,
he's gonna have. That's why I said he's gonna have to start getting some wins if he's gonna want to stay in it. I mean, listen, last year Bill started out horrible and then he went on a big run. I don't see the comparisons to Bill's team to Slaps' team now, but maybe
his
something
best
will
player
change.
is,
Things change in fantasy.
I don't even know who his best player is anymore. It's all
It
shit.
would be Harrison if he's healthy, but he's not healthy at the moment. See how long he's out for.
I
All
don't
right.
think his team has a single wide receiver number 1 or running back number.
I think his
He would
team
have
has a
redraft.
Yeah, he
single.
wanted to trade for like Gibbs and Monty. I'm like, who are you gonna
You
give
don't
me?
think Harrison would be a?
He's borderline.
Yeah. I
Maybe.
mean, he's the best wide receiver on their team, but Kyler just is shit some weeks. I don't know. All right, moving on to the final matchup of the week. We saw Bill taking Tyler a little bit behind the woodshed here, 165 to 118. Decent score for Tyler's team compared to some of the other weeks Tyler's had, putting up 118, but not enough, not anywhere near enough as Bill's team just absolutely popped off. Highest scoring of the week to move to 3-3. So a big win for Bill to stay out of there, that bottom, and then get himself right into the mix at 3-3. He had Baker put up a huge game. Connor was the one disappointment with only 6.6, but then Kenneth Walker had a monster game of 20. Chris Godwin, 2 touchdowns, 11 catches on 13 targets, and 125. Monster day for him with 35 huge points. JSN only had 10. McBride had a really nice game with 17. Dobbs, who he started, turned out to be a great start. 2 touchdowns as well. So 2 of his wide receivers with 2 touchdowns. And then he started Tyrod Tracy in the flex, which was a good play with Singletary out. Had a huge game from the receiving standpoint with 6 catches. Overall, a ton of his players in that high teen and 20s, and then he got the 35 from Godwin. Monster week for Bill's team. On Tyler's side, falls to 1-5 in that 3-way tie from last. Gino with only 12 points, kind of saved his day with that touchdown at the end of the day, or it would have been single digits. Did not look very good in that game on Thursday night to start Tyler off. Mixon, though, did play and looked really good. Big bright spot there for Tyler to have him back with 27. Jerome Ford has continued to disappoint. Now Nick Chubb's back, so at least Tyler doesn't have to start him anymore. St. Brown, it wasn't a St. Brown day as he didn't have to do much as the Lions were destroying the Cowboys so big. He did get a touchdown, though. Pickens, another lower mediocre game, but had 8 targets. Ingram was a good bright spot for Tyler as he came back and put up 18 and was a target hog with 10 targets and 10 catches. So a good sight to see for Tyler to have his tight end back and playing that well. Amari Cooper, who we will obviously talk about, gets traded to the Bills. That is a huge boost for Tyler as he goes from the shit Browns and shit Watson to the Bills and Josh Allen. Should be a monster boost for him moving forward. Rashid Shaheed, though, single digits. It seems like he's either a boom or bust guy. He busted this week and is now hurt and probably out for quite a while.
He's dead.
Yep. And Jake Bates, nice pick this week with all the Lions scoring points. 20 huge points from your kicker is always a nice sight to see. So obviously some areas for Tyler to look at in the future as positive moments, getting Mixon back, getting Cooper to the Bills. So obviously there's some hope there. Put up a decent score, but not enough. Tyler, your thoughts after your loss to Bill?
Well, it's probably one of my first weeks. My team's at near full strength. Everyone's at Singletary, and I have a good week. So I think it proves my team is at least okay.
Okay, at least okay. All right. Anybody want to make any comments on this matchup? Okay, go ahead.
Tyler, I'm sorry about it. It's not that it's over. It's just that you definitely are in a better position than Slaps. So I'll give you that.
Okay, so
He's
you're
not getting
saying
last
he
place.
can't be hopeful for the future,
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
better. He's not going to get last place.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I'm
Wow.
putting it.
Wow. Okay. Now, just for some context, last week you were very, very harsh on Tyler's team last week. So it sounds like you're backing off that just a little bit.
No, I mean, I'm putting him in like 10 or 11, and then
Oh, okay.
just Slaps.
So you're saying he's not going to get back into the race for the playoffs, is what you're saying?
Yes, Slaps is my guaranteed 12th place.
Wow, guaranteed last place. Okay. Wow. All right. All right, Tyler, you want to make any comments on that at all? Because last week, Rat was, I don't know if you've seen the show last week, but Rat was very, very harsh on your team last week. And
Well,
you
I
did score
agree
more than him
that my
this
team is
week.
definitely better than Slaps, and
Okay.
I don't know, it's probably like the 8th best team, 10th best team in the league, somewhere in that range.
Hmm.
I've
Okay.
had bad luck with injuries,
Okay.
and Nixon and Ingram have been basically out the whole year.
Hmm.
Those are my second and third best players, probably.
Look, you have some solid players like Mixon, St. Brown, Cooper now, but the rest is just, I don't know. The rest is a lot of questionable marks.
Okay. All right. All right, so looking at the standings after that week, as I said, Cheese now at 5-1, still in first place though, the only 5-1 team. Then we have a slew at 4-2, Rat, Zombie, Pook, and myself all at 4-2. Then we have a bunch at 3-3, all battling for those final playoff spots at the moment. Right now it'd be Ernie and Pusa getting the last two spots at 3-3, then Zach at 3-3, and Bill at 3-3. Then we have the kind of decent sized gap between the 3 and 3s. Now, the 1 and 5s are now 2 games back. So, as I mentioned, all the 2 and 3s last week all won, which is not very good when all the 1 and 4s lose. That kind of hurts. You would like to see at least 1 or 2 of those 2 and 3s lose to stay only a game back of them. But they're now 2 games back. Matt, Slaps, and at the moment Tyler is in dead last with points for. He's got about just short of a 30-point gap between Slaps, but they do play each other head to head this week, as we will talk about in a minute when we get into the previews for this upcoming week. Real quickly, looking at the waivers for this week, a little bit of activity, nothing crazy. Obviously, the biggest prize was Demario Douglas, who had a nice game last week. Now with Drake May in there, maybe can see some decent points going through forward. That goes to Pook as he bid 17, outbidding me by $4. So GG's to Pook on that. Getting that could be a decent stash for the bench with potential to maybe do something in the future if Drake May turns out to be good. Cheese picks up Jalen Warren, drops his kicker for $13. Outdid Tyler's $7 bid and Pusa's $5. So he gets Warren, and if Najee is hurt, that could be a decent bump for him. I picked up Gabe Davis for $4. Just to put on the bench. Had an okay game last week, but it is Gabe Davis. He's usually boom or bust, and most of the time bust. Pusa picks up a tight end, K. Dotton, for $3. Obviously, with Goddard hurt, he's looking for tight end help. Pook gets Taysom Hill for $3, drops the 49ers kicker, who had a nice game, so I'm a little surprised there. Noah Brown was picked up by Rat for $2. Do you want to say anything about this? Are you going to overhype this like you were doing in the chat earlier?
Oh, Noah Brown saved me last year on a bye week. He's saving me this year.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Obviously, nice troll here from Zach. He re-picks up his boy Michael Thomas. I'm surprised he didn't throw some dollars on this, just to be even more of a troll, waste some fab on it. But instead, he gets him for 0. He's still not on a team. And as far as I know, there's no rumor of a team, right?
Nope.
Oh, the NFL lifts. When was this? Oh, this was a month ago. Yeah.
He's on Zach's side.
Just got to be a troll from Zach. Good. Tyler gets Dearness Johnson, who looked pretty decent for Jacksonville. We'll see if he gets more carries moving forward, as everyone thought it was going to be Tank Bigsby's show, but he didn't do much. So we'll see. Zombie picks up his Chargers kicker, and then Rat picks up Zombie's boy Quentin Johnson for $0. Other than that, nothing too crazy on waivers as it continues to dry out. And a lot of people still have fab left, so it'll be interesting. This week had potential on waivers to be a monster fab week if Jordan Mason's injury was way worse. Could have seen a huge battle for the 49ers Guendo guy. But instead, Jordan Mason doesn't look as bad, so it was not a huge waiver game this week. Real quickly, before we get into Week 7 matchups, just one trade to discuss. It was kind of a big one between me and Cheese yesterday. I receive Mike Evans and Zach Moss. Cheese receives Devontae Adams and Mostert. Obviously, Yesterday morning, woke up to the dreadful news that Davante Adams had been traded to the one and only team that I did not want him to go to, the Jets, having Garrett Wilson. And of course, he couldn't go to the Bills. He had to go to fucking his boy Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, which led me with both the Jets wide receivers. Did not really care to have them both. So I was looking for a decent top tier receiver to switch him out with, and me and Cheese came to the agreement. We also traded cuffs, so Cheese now has Mostert to go with Achane. I now have Zach Moss to go with Chase Brown. Overall, I think pretty solid trade. Obviously, Pusa and Ernie were in the chat trying to, get this vetoed. Apparently, Ernie thinks that Evans is way better than Adams. We'll see. It could be a good trade for Cheese if Adams does get force-fed by Rodgers moving forward, but there is Garrett Wilson still there. Evans has some good weeks. He has some bad weeks, but the Buccaneers' offense overall this year has looked very solid, so I will take my chances with Evans. I feel like it's pretty even. Anybody want to make any comments? We'll start with Cheese. You want to make any comments on our trade?
I don't know. Anybody calls that a trade? Ridiculous.
Yeah, that was being thrown out there. That's just stupid by Ernie. I feel like Pusa, because he was trying to get a three-way done with me and Cheese before Cheese accept this, but he wasn't willing to offer what he needed to offer to get in the mix of a three-way. So I feel like because he was mad over that, he probably messaged Ernie and said, "Hey, help me start aids in the chat to try to get this vetoed," thinking that that was going to then get him Adams. Even if it got vetoed, I would have just took Matt's deal instead of Pusa, so it didn't matter. But then Pusa eventually came to his senses and accepted and vote approve. So
I'm surprised about Pusa's comments. Usually he's very positive about other people's trades.
No, he's mad because he wanted him.
yeah, he wanted Adams. He was trying to do a three-way where I got Evans still, he got Adams, and then Cheese got Zay Flowers and Waddle. But Cheese didn't have interest in that, so he was not going to get it unless he offered like AJ Brown or someone bigger, and then it would have been a monster trade that we would have had to add more pieces. So it didn't really have a chance of ever happening, but Pusa was just his little 15 minutes of midget rage after realizing he wasn't going to get his boy Adams. All right. Anybody else want to make any comments on this? Rat, you have any comments to make?
I like Mike Evans better, but it's fine. It's not
Okay.
great.
Alrighty. Now, let's look ahead then to Week 7. This week is Monster Matchup City. As you will see here, pretty much every matchup is either tied record, one win between. We have two of the 1-5s battling. So it is a monster week of matchups that are going to shape a lot of the season moving forward on who's going to be in the playoffs, who might be at risk of missing based on what happens in some of these matchups. The standings will shift this week based on what happens in all these. Starting with my matchup versus Pusa. I am 4-2. Pusa's 3-3. Obviously, me and Pusa have the bet on who has a better season this year, so that is also tied in, which I'm holding the 1-win advantage over at the moment, but it could be tied after this week if he beats me. At the moment, Sleeper has him winning 119 to 110. Obviously, I have CD Lamb on bye, so that's big for my team to overcome this week. I believe Pusa pretty much has everybody besides Komet on bye. Pusa has Hurts against the Giants. Great matchup there. Although the Giants have been playing a little bit more respectably on the defensive side. And the way Hurts looked against the Browns in the beginning, maybe the Giants can somehow give him a game. We'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping. Hopefully the Eagles look like trash. Irving again on Monday night against Baltimore is in there. We'll see if Rachaad White plays. If so, he might switch him out. He is a Monday night player. Pollard in there against Buffalo. Jamar Chase against Cleveland. That should be a good game for Chase, as Cleveland is a disaster. A.J. Brown against the Giants as well. Goddard in there in the moment, so he's got the Eagles stacking at the moment. We'll see if he switches out Goddard, or if Goddard even plays. Zay Flowers on Monday night against Tampa, so he's got two Monday night players. Deontay Johnson against Washington. He has been having some nice games, getting touchdowns. Kind of the one bright spot for Carolina besides Chuba. And then the Houston kicker against Green Bay. On my side, I have Purdy on Sunday afternoon against the Chiefs. Tough matchup there. We'll see. That should be a really good game that the 49ers kind of need to win to keep pace. So we'll see if they can give the Chiefs their first loss. James Cook against Tennessee. If he plays, which I guess last I read he should play because he was a very late scratch on the Monday night game. He almost played that. Chase Brown against Cleveland. Debo Samuel, as I said, against Kansas City. Garrett Wilson now on Sunday night against Pittsburgh. Tougher defense, but maybe Adams will take some of the heat off, and maybe Wilson can still get his targets. Kincaid against Tennessee. Kareem Hunt in there against the 49ers. Obviously, I hope that game is a shootout, but it probably will be a 20 point something to 20 point something type of game. Doubt it'll be a shootout. Newly acquired Mike Evans on Monday night, so we both have Monday night players against Baltimore, so this could come down to Monday night. And the kicker as well for Tampa Bay on Monday night also. I think this is going to be a very close matchup. I do like a few of Pusa's players this week. If the Giants don't show up and get blown out and the Eagles just score at will against them, then I will lose. If the Giants can, keep it tough like they've been doing the last few weeks, then and the Eagles don't pop off as much, then I like my chances a lot more. Obviously, I'm going to pick myself and hope that the Giants have something for the Eagles this week. Cheese, who's winning this matchup?
I just think his team's on a roll right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he keeps it up.
Yeah.
The Eagles do tend to play bad against the Giants for some reason, so I don't know, but I think his team is very strong with them.
Okay. Rat.
I think it's one of the higher scoring matches of the week, but Pusa comes away with a tight victory.
Okay. And Tyler.
Who? What matchup?
It's me versus Pusa.
You.
Okay. Wow. All right, so split there. We will see what happens. Good luck to Pusa. If I could get this win, it'd be great because then I would be 2 games ahead of Pusa for our bet. So I'm really hoping to pull that out. That's another reason I didn't do the trade with Matt was I didn't want to take DJ Moore, who's on a bye, because I want to try to win this week. So we'll see what happens. Good luck to Pusa. Moving on to the next matchup, another huge matchup. Pook versus Rat. Obviously, there will be some chatter in the chat between these two this week. Very close matchup as well, according to Sleeper. Rat right now barely edging Pook 112 to 111. Both teams are 4-2, so it's a monster one in the standings as well. At the moment, Rat has Jordan Love against Houston. Brian Robinson back in there against Carolina should be pretty good, as assuming he plays. Jordan Mason in there against Kansas City. We'll see what happens with that and his injury. T. Higgins against Cleveland should be good. Devontae Smith against the Giants should be pretty good. Brock Bowers against the Rams should be a good matchup, as he's now like the only decent option left there, and they love throwing a bunch to him, so he should have a big game. Now with no Adams, especially. Lockett against Atlanta, still staying in there with Lockett against Atlanta, and Noah Brown in there against Carolina. We will see what happens with that. And then Bucker against the 49ers. On Pook's side, Darnold against Detroit should be decent, although Detroit's defense has the ability to shut down teams. Sometimes they don't, though. Bijan Robinson against Seattle. That could be a Robinson versus Walker type game. Maybe. We'll see. Jacobs against Houston. Jefferson back off the bye against Detroit. Scary Terry against Carolina should be very good. Jawan Johnson, who he picked up today off waivers on Thursday night, so he's got a Thursday night player to start him off. We'll see if he can perform against Denver. Denver, the wide receivers don't usually do as well, but Surtain is out with a concussion, so maybe their defense is a little softer, and he's a tight end, so maybe he just gets points regardless. Chuba Hubbard against Washington, and Bigsby, sticking with Bigsby in there against the Patriots as Keenan Allen is on bye, so he doesn't have that option this week. He does have Sutton tomorrow night, though. We'll see if he makes any switches, comes to his lineup. I'm going to take Rat in this one. I think Rat's more at full strength. He doesn't have too many buys besides Olave hurt and Nico Collins hurt. I think really this one's just going to come down to whose flexes do better. I think the top half of their lineups are all very solid. It's going to come down to whose flexes do better. And I think maybe Rats can do a little better, or maybe it's just the tight end difference with Bowers just scoring way more than what Johnson. If Johnson gets off to a good start tomorrow, then it might be Pooks. I'm going to take a Rat, though, in a very close one around 115 to 120, somewhere in there. Cheese.
I'm taking Pook. Team is also very strong at the moment.
Okay.
And
So you're riding with the hot teams, it seems like.
I wanted Terry. He wouldn't give me Terry.
And what was
Um,
this offer?
I offered him Mike Evans or DK. I really want Terry.
Just so it was just a straight up.
I mean, I would have added like a
Okay.
bench guy, but like nothing else crazy.
Okay. Yeah,
But I
Pook
really wanted
doesn't
Terry.
want to
I
give
was
you
willing
that
to, I was
stack.
willing to overpay for Terry, but he wouldn't do it. I mean, Rats got a solid team. I think the bigger issue is Mason's kind of banged up. I'm not really a Noah Brown believer. It's like while the Washington team, the Commies look really good in offense, there's a lot of people in that offense row too, and Terry's clearly number one.
I'm assuming Rats hoping and banking that Noah Brown somehow.
I mean, he
It's a
could get a
Noah
long
Brown
touchdown.
week, and
He could get a long touchdown.
I think he's hoping maybe Scary Terry has a shit game and Noah Brown it's
I
his
just think
week.
that Pooh's got some more solid players. He's got Jefferson, Scary Terry's great. Cuba obviously has been doing great, and Tank took over the Etienne role at the moment. So
It's interesting
um,
he's choosing Darnold over Goff this week.
I
They play each
mean,
other, so that's kind of
I just
interesting.
think the issue is that Goff likes to
He
hand
put
the
up
ball off a lot.
25 last week.
Yeah, but he likes to just. I mean, that's because they're playing the Cowboys.
Put up
Yes.
27 and then
Minnesota
25.
Minnesota has a
last
lot
2
better
weeks.
defense, and because
I don't know
either
about
the
a
score
lot better.
than the Cowboys are shit.
I mean, the Cowboys still
All
have
I'm saying
good
is
offense.
Goff. I've seen a lot. I watched the Lions game obviously this year, and Goff could just start handing off the ball and not throwing it a lot. So I can see where he's coming from.
Okay.
Goff could just start spamming handoffs, and that does work.
All right.
Yeah, because they're very good. So I can see where he's coming from.
Okay. Tyler?
Rat by a million.
Wow.
Wow.
Or so
Whoa.
you would have you believe.
Perfect. Okay. Wow. All right, Rat, are you getting this win over Pook?
I wasn't expecting Tyler to say that, but I'll take a million.
I feel like he's trying to jinx you.
It's gonna come down to Noah Brown versus Terry McLaurin, and Noah Brown is gonna outscore Terry McLaurin.
Wow.
There's your answer.
I'm going to change my pick to Pook because if your matchup solely comes down to Noah Brown versus Scary Terry, I'm going to change my pick to Pook because Scary Terry's a way better player.
And Brock Bowers is going to have 30 points this week.
Okay.
I do like Bowers a lot, but
okay. All right.
I'm winning though.
If it comes down to that, you're not winning. So you better hope
2 million.
that something else happens with your
2
lineups.
million.
look, I just think the issue with Rat's team is that he's a lot of like good players, but he's a lot of like number twos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's got Higgins, Smith, Lockett. Like they could all have great weeks, but they could also all have bad weeks.
Yeah, the Nico injury really
Nico
hurts
is
his
hurting
team.
for sure.
And
Feed Nico when
Olave
they're
being hurt. That really hurts his team right now.
Because like Lockett had a great game, but like it could be a DK game, and he's or JSN game.
Yep. All right. Well, we will see.
I think it'll be close though. I think it's gonna be close. He's not gonna be able to blow up. It'll be very close.
All right. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Matt looking desperately for a win at 1-5 versus Ernie, who's also looking desperately for a win as he's lost 3 straight. So this is a big one here for somebody to pick up a win. Right now, Sleeper giving it to Ernie 110 to 97. Is Matt not set a? Well, he has set a full lineup. It's just not looking that great. They got Ray Davis at only 2.6 because I'm assuming James Cook will be playing. Does he not have? He's got Etienne out, Gus Edwards out, Swift on bye. Yeah, he's going to have to probably pick up a running back at some point this week because it doesn't, unless he just sticks with Ray Davis, even though I'm pretty sure James Cook will play. But we'll see what happens. Ernie has Mahomes against that 49ers big matchup. Kamara tomorrow night to get him started against Denver should be pretty decent. Barkley against the Giants. Tank Dell in there against Green Bay should be pretty good. That could be a shootout. Green Bay, Houston possibly. Ladd McConkey, who he benched last week because he was upset at himself. Depressed a little bit on watching Ladd McConkey have a nice game and on his bench. Puts him in there on Monday night this week against Arizona. Should be pretty decent. Pitts, who's been coming alive a little bit against Seattle. Kyron Williams obviously in there against the Raiders should be pretty decent. He's sticking with his boy Juju in there against the 49ers. He cost him 2 weeks ago with that drop for a pick, or he could have made that huge comeback against Pusa, but he's sticking with him against the 49ers. And he's got to pick up a kicker as Aubrey is on bye. Let's see. He has, if he doesn't want to play Juju, he does have options with Ridley and Slayton if Neighbors is out. So we'll see who he chooses in that final flex spot. On Matt, side, Richardson in there against Miami. If he gets 15, I think you should be happy. Derrick Henry on Monday night against Tampa Bay should be really good. We already talked about Ray Davis. We'll see what happens with that. Diggs against Green Bay. Keenan Coleman in there against Tennessee. We'll see now with Amari Cooper coming in. I mean, Coleman wasn't getting a ton of targets before this. Now with Cooper there, we'll see. Does he just kind of fade into like nothing? We'll see what happens. Mark Andrews on Monday night, so he does have some Monday night players. Addison in there, Ernie's former boy Addison against Detroit. We'll see if he burns Ernie. Pittman in the lineup against Miami, and McPherson against Cleveland. I'm going to take Ernie. I think Ernie's team is much more solid from top to bottom. Matt has a lot of question marks, including running back number 2 spot, quarterback spot. So I just think Ernie, even though he's lost 3 in a row and his team's kind of been struggling, I feel like it will be enough, score enough, get around the 110 range, and I think that will be enough to beat Matt's team this week. Chiefs.
Close, I think.
Close, really.
I don't know. I don't feel Mahomes has been disappointing. I don't know if I'm a believer in the 9 a.m. game, or it's a 9 p.m. game Monday. I don't know that.
Yeah, there's 2 again, isn't there? Stupid thing. Stupidest thing from the NFL. How many weeks do we need to do 2 games?
I don't love Ernie's team. Like, he's a solid team. I want Matt to win, but it's just...
It's not about if you love him or not. It's is he going to win this week against Matt's team?
Keon Coleman and Ray Davis are not going to... Like, it's not enough. And Pittman is also...
Yeah, well, good luck finding running back on waivers at this point. But
yeah, I mean, he's just got nobody else. It's just unlucky. If he had, like, a healthy Etienne and DJ Moore...
I don't understand why he didn't try to... He could have put in a claim for, like, Guendo. I mean, Mason's going to be back, but...
Could have gotten Warren.
Yeah, or this is a theme every week with Matt. It seems like he doesn't even look at waivers. He just looks later in the week. But he's putting himself at a big disadvantage by not at least looking at waivers. Especially when you know you need a second running back. Like, and he's banking on Ray Davis.
Strong parts. It's just Ernie's a lot more solid all around.
Okay, so you're taking Ernie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Taking Ernie.
Rat.
Oh man. Wow. Matt should just join slaps on the beach. Get ready to, I mean, Ray Davis, Keon Coleman, they might put up a combined 0. Anthony Richardson.
They could. I mean, they really could.
Anthony Richardson might put up 5.
Okay. He might get hurt.
Derrick Henry, 20, 25. There you go. Diggs, 20, 25. So we're having life here. Mark Andrews, back to 5. Jordan Addison, saves him with 10. So Matt's got around 70. And if Ernie can't beat 70, then that guy just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think if Ernie loses this week, he definitely nukes.
Ernie's in trouble if he loses this week.
I think he nukes. And I think maybe that's what he was saying. He said he's going to be nuking soon.
He has a real solid team. I think the move he can make, though, is moving one of those running backs. He can move one of those running backs and still be for wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, his Tank Death Valley is great. Ladd McConkey's actually a pretty solid flex. You got Juju, maybe solid flex too, but if he can't win this week, then they gotta go. There's no questions.
Okay. Tyler.
Matt by a million. Ernie's team is falling off a cliff and will continue to do so.
Really? Wow. Okay. So who's going to be performing big for Matt this week to give him the win, or is he going to win a shit show?
He's going to win 115 to 85.
Wow. Okay. So even convincingly. I'm sure Ernie will love that when he hears that. All right. Moving on to the next matchup. This is another big one. Cheese versus Zombie. 5-1 versus 4-2. After the horrible performance from Zombie's team last week against me, let's see if his team bounces back against Cheese. Cheese also had a lesser performance for his standards so far this season, so we'll see if he bounces back. Who's going to get the win? Right now, Sleeper projecting Zombie barely 125 to 122. Higher scoring. morning matchup. Zombie has Drake May in there on Sunday morning. It is against Jacksonville, so maybe he could put together a 20-point game. We'll see. Breece Hall in there against Pittsburgh on Sunday night. Obviously looked pretty good this past week. We'll see with Adams in the mix how that affects maybe some of his catching. His PPR production maybe goes down a bit. Aaron Jones against Detroit, assuming he plays. Drake London against Seattle. Drake London's become a pretty solid, consistent, around 20-point performer. So that was definitely one that I questioned in the early rounds, but it has panned out for Zombie. Neighbors, assuming he gets him back against the Eagles, could be a big game for him. Njoku against Cincinnati. I don't like anything to do with the Cleveland Browns, although maybe Njoku just gets force-fed a ton of targets because he's like the only option for Watson to go to. I still don't like any Browns. Cooper Kupp, there's some rumor that he might be back this week. That would be a big boost to Zombie's lineup to have all three of his stud wide receivers in there against the Raiders. Brian Thomas against the Patriots, also in there for that Sunday morning game, and Cameron Dicker on Monday night. On Cheese's side, Daniels against Carolina should be very good. You just got to worry about Washington getting out to a huge lead. Montgomery against Minnesota. Gibbs against Minnesota. Devontae Adams, newly acquired on Sunday night against Pittsburgh. We'll see how he looks on his Jets debut. DK Metcalf against Atlanta. Kittle against Kansas City. Achane in there against the Colts. It's still not Tua yet, so reserve your expectations for Achane. Mooney against Seattle, sticking with Mooney in there, and Cyber against Carolina. Does have options with maybe Jaylen Warren if he's the starter, or Shakir. Interesting. I am going to actually take Zombie in this matchup. I think his team did horrible last week, and I think they're due for a bounce back. He also gets a bunch of guys back, like Jones, possibly. Assuming Neighbors and Kupp both play, I think Zombie's team out-edges Cheese's and gets a win like 135-ish, somewhere in there, to like 130, 125. I think Cheese's team performs, but I just don't know if they have enough this week. If Zombie's at full strength with all these guys, I think some of these wide receivers could have huge games for Zombie. Rat?
With Zombie's team back, as he's been claiming that he's only been losing because of injuries.
Yep.
Cheese, I'm sorry, buddy, but yeah, he's winning.
Okay, that's two. Okay. Tyler?
Oops, sorry.
He's by a million. His team is also perfect.
Wow. Okay. Maybe some sarcasm, some jinxing going on, Tyler, tonight on a few of these teams.
Yep.
Okay.
Fake Red and Cheese are the best fantasy players in the league.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay. All right. Cheese, are you at all?
I mean, do they disagree? That's how they act.
Yeah. Cheese, are you at all concerned about back-to-back loss? You know, everything started so peachy for you this season with barely any injuries, 5-0. Then
look,
Rice is done for the year. Now you've lost a game, and now you got to face Zombie with almost all his guys back.
Look, we're getting into the harder part of the schedule,
Yeah.
but Drake May, not proven. Aaron Jones, they got Cam Akers, so Aaron Jones,
Uh-huh.
if he's back, I don't think it's gonna be like the full go yet. They'll do some split work.
Okay.
But as long as we got a solid team, I agree though. Njoku, I don't know. Watson's terrible. And Kupp, he's a lot of guys coming back from injury, like the first week back. I don't know how involved they're gonna be, but it's definitely a solid team. I don't know. I like my chances. Colts' run defense is terrible. Seattle defense did not look great last game, so Mooney could rack up some points. Yeah, I'm not starting Shakir yet because I got to see how he works with Cooper.
Okay.
I don't know. He could be nothing. He could be a solid wide receiver too.
All right. So
I
you
mean,
think you're still going to get the win?
I really like the QB matchup I have. I
Okay.
think Jane Daniels is going to run all over Carolina. And then Carolina's offense has been kind of decent, so it could be a shootout type of game.
All right. So you're going to pull out the victory.
I'm going to take myself.
Okay. I like it. You're still confident. All right. Moving on to the. I forgot in Pook's matchup, he sent me comments. I always forget about the comments. Let me see here.
Zach said he sent you comments about something.
Yeah, I'll do that when I get to Zach's. Did I do Zach's yet? No, I haven't. I'm about to. These comments. Oh, never mind. They're for Slaps' matchup, so I'll wait. Okay, moving on to the next matchup. We have Bill versus Zach. Both teams 3-3, so another battle of teams with even records. See, one's going to get a win and feel really good about their chances. The other's going to fall back. So see what happens. Right now, Zach projected to win according to Sleeper 115 to 114, very close. Zach has Lemar on Monday night against Tampa Bay. Jonathan Taylor, assuming he plays against the Dolphins. JK all day on Monday night as well. So a lot of Monday night. Tyreek Hill in there off a bye. I'm sure Zach wishes he was still on a bye. We'll see if what he can do still with no quarterback. Jaden Reed in there against Houston should be pretty good. Kelsey against the 49ers. PPR machine Wandale against the Eagles. We'll see if he can shut him down. And he's got Michael Thomas in there at the moment in his final flex. So let's see. Who will he probably be playing? Eckler against Carolina maybe? Or or maybe Judy or Jameson. Oh, he'll probably definitely start Jameson Williams against the Vikings. And then Tucker, obviously, on Monday night. So Zach has quite a few Monday night. It could come down to that. And then Bill, obviously, has a shit ton of Monday night. Baker Mayfield against Baltimore. James Conner against the Chargers on Monday night. Kenneth Walker against Atlanta. Godwin on Monday night against Baltimore. Yeah, this is going to be a huge showdown on Monday night. Both these teams are probably going to be pretty close, and they're both going to have a shit ton of players. So it'll be interesting. JSN against Atlanta. McBride on Monday night against the Chargers. Dobbs against Houston, so they both have a Green Bay wide receiver. Xavier Worthy off the bye against the 49ers, and the Miami Dolphins kicker against the Colts. Can they move the ball enough to get him in to field goal range is my only question. And then Bill still benching Allen against his Titans, of course. And we'll see with Tyrod Chasey. Maybe he throws him in there if Singletary's not playing. This is a big matchup. And they both have a lot of complementary type players. They both have a ton of Monday night. Obviously, with them both having a Green Bay wide receiver, which one does better? They both have solid tight ends. I think I'm going to take Bill just because of the running backs. I don't know how fully healthy Jonathan Taylor is. J.K. Dobbins has been really good and could have another big game, but I think I just like Bills running backs a little bit more for this week. Although it does worry me that Godwin had that huge game last week, so maybe he comes back down to earth. I'm going to take Bill, though, in a very close one. I think this could be a higher scoring matchup of the week, but I'm going to take Bill. Cheese, who is winning?
I actually like Zach's team this week. Just the issue for me is that Taylor and Sermon both seem to be hurt.
Okay.
And obviously, Tua is not back yet.
Okay.
Tyreek, I just think that I think it's gonna be very, very. I'm gonna take Zach.
Wow.
Very, very small. I think Eckler could be a good play this week.
Well, he doesn't have him in his lineup at the moment, so.
Well, he's not starting Michael Thomas. So,
yeah, but he'll probably start Jameson Williams, I would think.
Well, I would start Eckler over any of the Colts boys, but I just think Jalen Reed versus Houston would be good. Kelsey, San Fran, they're gonna want to get involved a lot. Wandale's gonna catch like 15 passes for 15 yards and get 15 points. Bill's got. It's gonna be very close. Bill's got a very solid team.
Okay.
But I just like Zach's a little bit more.
All right. Rat.
It's going to come down to Monday night. It's going to have Zach with a 1-point lead. And Justin Tucker is going to miss 2 field goals to kill Zach's vibes.
But they have a shit ton of other players, so you're saying all their other players are going to even out each other?
Yes.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to come down to Justin Tucker at the end of the game, and he's going to miss is field
Zach
goal.
would leave the party that night in
Yes.
rage fashion and not join
Yeah.
back.
Yep. We're getting one of them this year,
Oh
and it's
boy.
coming this week.
Okay, interesting prediction there. Okay, Zach did send me a comment, but it is not about his matchup. So we will get past that. Tyler, who's winning this one?
Bill is winning. He's a momentum player, and he came off a big win against me last week.
Mm-hmm.
Ride that momentum.
Okay, so you're gonna ride. All right. All right, and then obviously we saved the best for last, or in this case, the worst for last. The toilet bowl matchup of 1 and 5s, 12th place versus 11th place, the battle for last. Whoever loses will be in last place, most likely, assuming Matt holds the points for lead or and if he loses. But it's a big matchup nonetheless. Slaps versus Tyler. Tyler projected to win by sleeper 110 to 104 over Slaps, who, as we've already mentioned with Slaps team a little bit ago, is reeling a bit. So not the best case scenario for Slaps coming into this matchup with Tyler. And Tyler might have a little momentum with some of his players back. So we'll see what happens. Tyler has Geno Smith in there against Atlanta, so he's riding with Geno over Trevor Lawrence against the Patriots. We'll see if that's the right call. Mixon against Green Bay. Mixon had a huge week last week. Should be a good game for Mixon. Singletary, assuming he plays against Philly. We'll see, though, if Tyrod Taylor earns a little bit more of the workload with Singletary coming back, as Tyrod looked really good. St. Brown in there against Minnesota. Pickens on Sunday night against the Jets. Evan Ingram in there on Sunday morning against the Patriots. And then obviously the Bills' new wide receiver one, Amari Cooper, against Tennessee. Should be pretty good to get him off to a good start with the Bills. And then Hopkins making an appearance. DeAndre Hopkins making an appearance against the Bills. And then Jake Bates, kicker against Minnesota. Interesting. So we sent, obviously, Odunze's on bye. Shaheed's hurt, so we really don't have much choice but to play Hopkins this week. Interesting. On Slaps' side, Burrow against Cleveland should be pretty decent as the Bengals need to keep winning. Stevenson in there on Sunday morning against Jacksonville. Najee Harris against the Jets, both questionable at the moment, so we'll see what happens with them. Brandon Ayuk against Kansas City. He's going to need to perform if they want to win this game. Can't just be one wide receiver going off like it has been in the past weeks. See if he can have a decent game, even though the Chiefs' defense is tough. Christian Kirk stays in there on Sunday morning against the Patriots, so he's not playing Lazard, obviously, with Adams now there. So he's going to have to ride with Kirk and hope for the best. It's the Patriots, so maybe he can get a touchdown or something, and maybe that game is a shootout type game as both defenses is horrible. Laporta against the Vikings. Marvin Harrison on Monday night. Hopefully he gets some type of news on Harrison early in the week so he doesn't have to worry going into Monday night. If he is out, the problem is who the fuck is he playing? I mean, he's got Tolbert on a bye. I mean, if Sean Tucker maybe gets some work after his huge game, but do you really have any faith in that? I mean,
He might double up on the New England boys.
He's got no options. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I offered him Warren for
just
Charb,
rough.
and I got an emphatic rejection.
Yeah, well,
As you should.
Buddy, he needs wins more than I do.
Yeah, but he's got Najee, so that only helps him if Najee's out. But it doesn't help his situation down here if Harrison's out. Then Downs against Miami and Koo against Seattle. Unfortunately for Slaps, I have to pick Tyler. His lineup is just in better shape overall. Slaps, I mean, if we don't see an option on the bench, then that means you're in deep trouble. He's got to pray that Harrison plays. If Harrison does clear it and play on Monday night, then maybe he has a chance to somehow win this. He's going to need big games from his running backs somehow, and he needs Ayuk to step up. If those all happen, then I think he can win. But do I think they're all going to happen? No. So I'm going to take Tyler this week. Cheese.
This is Tyler by a million.
Tyler by a million, not even close, huh? Okay.
Look. I don't think Tyler's roster is in perfect shape, obviously. His Singletary is looking like he may or may not play, and Cooper might not get into the game this week. But I mean, I think his roster's kind of coming together with everybody healthy. I'm gonna be honest here. I like his wide receivers. Ingram's finally healthy. Mixon's been good. Like, D Hop is whatever, but it's just because Slaps roster is so. I'm sorry, Slaps. It's so like Najee is like Burrow. I like Burrow. It's a good matchup for Burrow, but Ramondre is like hit or miss and is also kind of hurt. Najee is hit or miss, more likely miss. Ayuk's in the doghouse. They just spam Kittle, which is great for me. Um, Kirk is risky. Laporta is like for tight ends, he's fine, I guess, but there's a lot. He's not like last year where he's winning the league, right?
He needs that
Marvin,
Jacksonville Patriots game to be like somehow
yeah,
an ugly
Marvin
shootout instead of an
Harrison.
ugly overseas game like they
Marvin
normally are.
Harrison is not gonna play. Um, I highly doubt he plays.
Yeah.
And then Downs is kind of cooked because they took Flacco out.
Mm,
So
okay.
it's just a lot of like he would need Tyler's roster to collapse to win,
Okay.
unfortunately.
All right. Rat. Yeah, Rat, go ahead. You said you wanted to
Oh,
give some
it's
long prologue on this. Go ahead.
my favorite matchup of the week. But as a surprise, I'm gonna say Tyler wins this week.
How's
But
that a surprise?
well, I don't know. They're both just shit teams, but I'm giving it. And I've been talking shit on Tyler,
Okay.
but I guess I've been talking a
You've
lot
been
of shit on
talking shit on
Slaps.
Slaps too, yeah.
Slaps, your team name is finally Hunter's Gone. Hunter's had more production than you this year in this fantasy league,
Okay.
and that's kind of
That's not
impressive.
true. Slaps has 1 win. Hunter has 0 wins.
It's Sunday morning is gonna start early and bright when Ramondre Stevenson gets benched for Antonio Gibson, and we get a GG Tyler at 9:55 in the morning. So I can't wait for that.
Unironically, Slash should start both of them. I'm not even kidding.
He
He should
might
start
have
both of them.
to.
Well,
Joe
I don't
Barrow.
think he should if he doesn't have to. But
Look, Joe Barrow is gonna give him 20, and then in order, I'm gonna say Harris is gonna give him 10.
okay.
Ayuk's gonna give him 5.
You
Well, you
Ingram's
skipped
out.
Harris.
skipped Harris.
Did I skip Harris? I said 10.
No, you
Harris
said
No,
is
you
gonna
said
give him 10.
Stevenson
Stevenson 10.
Oh, sorry. No, Stevens is 0.20 when he
Okay.
gets benched
All
for
right.
Gibson.
Okay, that's.
He gets, and Marvin Harrison isn't playing this week.
Wait, you missed half his lineup.
Well, hold on. Ayuk is dropping 5. 5.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Christian Kirk is getting outscored by Ingram, so that doesn't even help. Marvin Harrison not playing this week, and I don't know who you guys put on the bench.
he's not playing.
Josh Downs is going back to like 2 to 3 points with Anthony Richardson, and his kicker might be his highest scorer besides his quarterback. So I'm gonna take.
He could risk Lazard, but Aaron Rodgers is going to suck off Devontae. So
I'm
I don't
taking
know.
Tyler by 50.
By 50. Wow. Okay.
I think
Wow.
Tyler's team's coming together. I think it's. I mean, it
Alright.
might be too little, too late, but I think it's getting to like at least a decent-ish team.
Okay. Wow. Some good
It's
praises.
been a decent-ish team. It's just
Well, the
Yeah,
injuries. I'm
players have
saying.
been
Once
out
I'm just
every
saying it might be.
week.
That's what I'm saying. Too might be too little, too late. But everyone's healthy and everybody's there.
Okay. Let's see. Zach commented on this matchup before we get to Tyler.
Hi.
He said, "I have some words for tonight. Slaps versus Tyler matchup tie." You called it.
Yeah.
And then Pook also wanted to comment on this matchup, and this is the most Pook thing I've ever read. I'm sure you might be able to guess this one too. For the Slaps matchup, he said, please read this after you say Slaps is losing. He says, Slaps would be 5-1 if he took my offer from Chuba and Scary Terry for AJ Brown. Instead, he is 1-5 with a sorry ass team that nobody wants. So in the typical Pook fashion, he's gonna mention about how his trade should have took. My only thing is he wanted AJ Brown for Scary Terry and Chuba, but he wouldn't trade Scary Terry straight up for Mike Evans. Interesting.
Can I stick up for Slaps really quick?
Okay, yes.
Surprise, I'm sticking up for him.
Yes.
But Pook, you would be 5-1 if you had Jesus' team. So there you go, bud.
Yeah. Coulda, woulda, shouldas in fantasy. So, and yeah, so that's interesting. All right, Tyler, the toilet bowl matchup. Are you coming out on top to get out of the cellar?
My heart says to pick Slaps. I don't know how much a voting last means to him, but my head clearly says that I'm the clear favorite. I will win.
And you will win. Okay.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if you do lose this week, what is the feelings then moving forward? Are we in a pretty big panic for the rest of the season? Is it on the beach? Because Matt continues to say he's already on the beach.
I mean, I was still in it for not finishing last, but I would obviously be. My playoff hopes are already decimated, but they would be even more decimated.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we will see. Obviously, we will all be keeping an eye on this Toilet Bowl matchup to see, big boost though for Matt. If he could somehow win, then he knows that one of these two is guaranteed to lose. So we'll see if Matt can pull off one in a game that might be a little winnable against Ernie, but we'll see what happens with all of that in those matchups. Okay, real quickly